From translation, NIV, New International Version. This 258 day of the year. Today we are reading passages Daniel 1 through 3. Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 to 21. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Jehoiakim of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord delivered Jehoiakim king of Judah into his hand, along with some of the articles from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylonia, and put in the treasure house of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, his chief court official, to bring in some of the Israelites, some of the royal family and of the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every branch of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was also to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that they would enter the king's service. Among those who were chosen were some from Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief official gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belteshazzar; to Hananiah, Shadrach; to Mishael, Meshach; and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to eat the defiling food. God had caused the official to favor Daniel, and he showed sympathy for him. "I fear my lord the king, who has assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you." Daniel then said to the guard whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, "Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servants in accordance with what you see." So he agreed to this and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice food and the wine they were to drink, and gave them vegetables instead. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. And Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them into his service, the chief official presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and he found none equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's service. In every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom. And Daniel remained there until the 1st year of King Cyrus. Daniel chapter 2, verses 1 to 49. In the 2nd year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. His mind was disturbed and he could not sleep. So the king summoned all the wise men of Babylon, the astrologers, sorcerers, and magicians, to come and tell him what his dreams had meant. When they came in before the king, he said to them, "I have had a dream that troubles me, and I want to know what it means." The astrologers replied to the king, "May the king live forever. Tell your dreams to your servants, and we will interpret them." The king replied to the astrologers, "I am serious about this. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you executed, and your houses will be turned into piles of rubble. But if you tell me the dream and explain it, I will reward you richly and give you great honors. So tell me the dream and its interpretation." Once more they replied, "Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will interpret it." Then the king answered, "I know with certainty that you are trying to gain time, because you know that my decree is strict. If you do not tell me the dream, there will be only one penalty for you all. I will have you executed, and your houses will be turned into piles of rubble." So the astrologers replied to the king, "There is no one on earth who can tell the king what he has asked for. No king, however great and powerful, has ever asked anything like this from any of his wise men or astrologers. What the king asks is too difficult, and no one can tell it to him except the gods, and they do not live among mortals." This made the king so angry and furious that he ordered the execution of all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree was issued to put the wise men to death, and men were sent to look for Daniel and his friends to put them to death. When Daniel and his friends heard this, they asked the king for time, so that they could interpret the dream for him. Then Daniel went to see King Nebuchadnezzar and asked for time to tell the king the meaning of his dream. So Nebuchadnezzar put Daniel and his friends in charge of looking for wise men to be put to death. And they put Daniel and his friends in charge of looking for wise men. Daniel and his friends prayed that God would give them wisdom to understand the king's dream, and Daniel had a vision. In that night a vision was revealed to Daniel, and he blessed the God of heaven. He said, "Praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his. He controls the course of history and the flow of time. He advances and dispatches, and he gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who know. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank and praise you, God of my ancestors, for you have given me wisdom and might, and have made known to me what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the dream of the king. I thank and praise you, God of my ancestors, for you have given me wisdom and might, and have made known to me what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the dream of the king." Then Daniel went to Arioch, the man whom the king had appointed to execute the wise men of Babylon, and said to him, "Do not execute the wise men of Babylon. Take me to the king, and I will interpret his dream for him." Arioch took Daniel to the king at once, and said, "I have found a man among the exiles from Judah who can tell the king what his dream means." The king asked Daniel, also called Belteshazzar, "Are you able to tell me what I dreamed and interpret it for me?" Daniel replied, "No wise men, enchanters, astrologers, or diviners can tell the king the secret he has asked about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in days to come. Your dream and the visions that pass through your mind as you lay on your bed are these. As you lay on your bed, you king, your mind turned to things to come, and the revealer of secrets revealed to you what will happen. As for me, this secret has not been revealed to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but in order that the interpretation be made known to you and that you may understand the thoughts of your mind. You, O king, did see a statue that was huge and terrifying. It stood before you, and its appearance was awesome. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. While you were watching, a stone was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace. You, O king, are the King of kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and glory and might. In your hand he has placed all mankind, the beasts of the field and the birds in the sky. Wherever they live, he has made you ruler over them all. You are that head of gold. After you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Then a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. A fourth kingdom will be strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything, and like iron it will crush and break all the others. You saw that the feet and toes were partly made of baked clay and partly of iron. This will be a divided kingdom, but it will have some of the strength of iron because you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly weak. You saw iron mixed with clay, but the iron and clay will not hold together. In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms, but it will endure forever. Just as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain, but not by human hands, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. A great God has made known to the king what will take place in the future. Then King Nebuchadnezzar threw himself down to the ground and worshipped Daniel and his friends. And he commanded that they offer sacrifices and incense. The king said to Daniel, I have issued a decree that everyone in my kingdom must know that you are the God of the gods, the Lord of the kings of men, and that you have revealed this because God has given you dominion over the women and the wise. The king put Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all its wise men. At Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to be administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained at the royal court. Daniel chapter 3, verses 1 to 31. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials to come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. Then a herald announced in a loud voice, To you, people of every nation and language, this is what is commanded. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and other musical instruments, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. So as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and pipe, and all kinds of instruments, all the nations and peoples of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this time, some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, May the king live forever. Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone in your kingdom must worship the image of gold when they hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of instruments. Whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews whom you have appointed to rule the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, your Majesty, have ignored you. They refuse to serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Nebuchadnezzar spoke to them. Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of instruments, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be immediately thrown into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, Nebuchadnezzar, We do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us. He will deliver us from your Majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your Majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace was so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who had carried Shadrach. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, bound hand and foot, were thrown into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisers, "Were there not 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" Nebuchadnezzar said, "Look, I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire, unharmed. And the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted to Shadrach, "Meshach and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisers crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their hair, that their robes were not scorched, and that there was no smell of fire on them. Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel to rescue them." They trusted in him and defied the king's order and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I decree that the people of every nation and language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut to pieces and their houses turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon